Now and again, I stumble across a hidden gem on YouTube. You know, you have all these popular videos, and some of them get pushed up for no discernible reason, and other ones just seem to lay in the basket of the many YouTube videos that we find here on this site. Well, today I found one of those hidden gems. It is a video called Fake Disorder Cringe is Just Ableism from DJ Has Thoughts. It's not the most visually appealing video, but I think they've got a lot of important points, and it will definitely be a large cool thing. We're going to discuss it, what they talk about. Yes.
Hey, I'm DJ. Welcome to my channel.
Hello,
So,
DJ.
did you ever have that one kid in school? You know, the one that everyone avoided? Maybe you felt bad and tried to talk to them once and they latched onto you like a tick filled with Lyme disease. Perhaps you tried avoiding them, or maybe you were hardcore and just told them to go away. They either never spoke at all or had terrible volume control and yelled a lot. Maybe they smelled weird or had no fashion sense. Maybe the way they spoke was odd, the intonation was off, the cadence was awkward, they used metaphors incorrectly, they quoted movies too much, or they just never knew when to shut up. Either way, you always—
I know a couple of people like that. I'd say that perhaps I had a few of those traits, although I wasn't the most chatty of people. Preferred to keep my mouth shut.
knew something was up with them. And you know what? You're right. Something was up with them. Maybe while I was listing those off traits, you felt bad about yourself because they reminded you of how you were in school, or even how you are now.
Well,
Chances
I was in
are, if that's
school.
the case, you identify as, or are formally diagnosed as, some form of neurodivergent, autistic, ADHD, etc. When I was in school, I was that off-putting kid. I dressed wrong, said the wrong things, reacted to situations incorrectly, made friends wrong. I was the kid that was wrong. I happen to identify as autistic. I'm not formally diagnosed, but my fiance, who is formally diagnosed, and several other diagnosed autists—
Would you say that's the stock autistic experience? You know, is that the thing that most sort of describes our experience in school? I'm not sure, because thinking of individuals that they're describing of, you know, I can probably pick out maybe two people that I could think of in this way. However, we do know from the stats that there is at least 1 in 33 people who are autistic, and it's even higher when you take into account neurodivergency. So, like, to some degree, there's got to be a whole lot more of people who don't fit that category. Perhaps, I'm not sure. I do know what they're trying to say though, but I don't think that's most people in school. Maybe you guys might have that experience. I definitely took off a few of those points that they've been speaking about. I was the one who was avoided. Don't know about anyone else, but that was my experience. Yeah, I don't think I was kind of avoided. I wasn't really. I was a bit more of a wallflower. I just didn't really interact, and so avoiding me wasn't particularly hard because they didn't need to didn't approach them.
autistic people have said I'm probably autistic. So let's consider my diagnosis unofficial but peer-reviewed. But if my experience isn't good enough because I'm not diagnosed, and it's fine to think that, my fiance was also that off-putting kid. She spoke weirdly, acted weirdly, was called ableist slurs by other kids. Something I noticed is that if one of these weird kids was known by their peers to be diagnosed with something, the bullying wasn't as in your face. Maybe they do more sneaky bullying, like putting their arm around the autistic kid and saying, "We're best friends, right?" Or encouraging the—
Yeah, it's one thing that I did notice from these two individuals that I was talking about is that they were almost incessantly bullied, but in a very roundabout, indirect, kind of jovial way. Like, it wasn't so much like they went up to them and started insulting them, but basically what they did is they were sort of mimicking the act of being friends with this person, but didn't actually have that intention. And whenever that person put up a boundary, told them to stop, it would be sort of— they would sort of socially manipulate it into being something that they're doing wrong, and basically they just try and drive this person up the wall to the point where they had a bit of a breakdown, or like tried to hit them or something. You know, they wouldn't really do much of the physical stuff other than like poking and, you know, putting their arms around them and stuff like that. I remember actually going up to them when this was happening and asking if the victim in question was okay. And I was generally trying to be nice, but they interpret it as being the same as what the other people were doing. So they thought that I was doing the same thing. It's kind of hard, isn't it? Like if your bullies are the people who fake trying to be friends with you, it's going to make you extremely paranoid and just not wanting to associate with anybody who shows interest in like being around you. It's they did some mad socially constructed bullying. It was crazy, really bad.
The kid with ADHD to embarrass themselves. You should do a crazy dance right now in the middle of class. It would be awesome.
Yeah.
I think there's an urge within certain people to correct quote unquote incorrect behavior. The autistic kid speaks funny and I don't like it, but I can't say anything about it or I'll be labelled an asshole. Maybe I can subtly bully it out of them so I feel less uncomfortable. That's more or less how I view those fake Disorder Cringe compilations. Now, I'm not referring to those people who have been basically confirmed to be faking disorders, where people have deep dived into their symptoms and none of them align with that of the diagnosis they claim to have, or people who are clearly malingering, for example, those who claim to have DID and record their alters having conversations with each other, switching from alter to alter within milliseconds with no dissociation period. Those people probably want fame or attention, which seems like either way they have some sort of disorder. In this instance, I'm talking about those Reddit threads.
Well, it's the whole Munchausen syndrome, isn't it? Literally a diagnosis which is psychiatric diagnosis, where a person fakes another disorder or multiple disorders in order to gain some kind of attention or sympathy. Yes, I get that. I get that for sure. I don't think it's always very apparent that the goal in the situation is to fix that person. I don't think people generally, I think they're being too nice to the bullies, I think the main reason why they do it is for a laugh, to have fun, because it's funny to them to do that. It's funny for them to humiliate people. I think that's the basis of it. We can dive into the potential psychological side of why people bully, but I think it's just simply they're finding it quite funny. It kind of makes it worse in a sense. Like, it's not necessarily derived from some poor family background or experiences in life. Like some people for sure, but other people, no. It's just like they just enjoy doing it, and then other people around them join in because they don't want to be bullied too. I think that's generally how it goes. It's not fun. That situation was my paranoia. People would pretend to be my friend to make fun or use me, and I could never tell. That's the concept of mate crime. Might be a good thing to look up if you haven't heard of it before. I think I do have a video on it. I think we have done a podcast on it before. But mate crime is a very big thing for autistic people. Like, it happens quite often for us, sadly.
And YouTube compilations where they have clips of someone stimming, switching, ticking, or just talking about their struggles with a disorder. But there's no proof that these people are faking. In fact, most of the proof is just 100%. That they're being too cringe or too over the top. But that's
it's like, why would any sane person put themselves out on the internet with symptoms or signs of their disability? How cringe! How cringe to just be yourself on the internet. No, it's not an issue of, like, people are assuming that they're doing it for attention because they can't imagine feeling okay about showing that they're disabled online. Do you know what I mean? That's my impression of why people jump to that assumption first. A lot of people that I've talked to over the years on my podcast or in the communities, or people that I've DM'd on Instagram who create autism related content, a lot of the time their motive is to share more about their experiences, help other people feel less alone, and be themselves online. And it's a pretty hard thing to do when everybody wants to. It's a pretty hard thing to do when you're different, because for us it's kind of a normal part of our daily life, whereas for other people they see it as some kind of weird cringy thing that you're doing on purpose for attention, where it's like it's not the case. We don't necessarily get any positives from this, unless you could count the amount of negative comments and hate watchers that consume the content, sort of push it up in the algorithm as being a good thing. I didn't get people pretending to be my friend, they just avoided me. Yeah, me too. Me too. I think maybe a couple of them tried. One person tried and it ended pretty badly because I'm very direct and I asked them about stuff. So that kind of fizzled out very quickly.
Not proof of faking. In fact, a lot of neurodivergent people can attest to being called too over the top when they were younger, and a lot can attest to being called cringe or embarrassing for acting neurodivergent. It's difficult to post a clip of some innocent autistic girl flapping her arms about as a form of stimming and caption it Autism Cringe without getting cancelled. But if you accuse her of faking, you can make fun of her weird autistic behaviour all you want and no one will care.
Yes.
Because we all know that real neurodivergent people are
it's fine to it's fine in people's eyes to make fun of somebody who is doing something cringe, that's something that they find cringe, and that them also not actually have the disability or the neurodiversity in question, neurodivergency. Yeah, that's safe. That's a safe thing to do. Like, can you imagine? Can you imagine one of these videos that we watch about autism cringe, and there's just autistic people on camera, and they just say they're not trying to say that this person is faking it or anything. They just think it is cringe. I think that would be a lot more of a clear reality of what's going on. Do you know what I mean? But it gives them a little pass in their head for it not to be considered to be a bad thing because they're doing it purposefully and it's cringe in their eyes. I experienced bullying at work in several jobs. I'm 68 years old and just received my diagnosis yesterday. My life finally makes sense. Thank you for sharing, Karen. Embracing who I am has been the only thing that's actually improved my situation. This community has helped that be more possible. Well, I'm glad. I'm really glad. Thank you, Anfema. Half God, half beast says, it happened to me and they got me addicted to the drugs and ruined my 20s. Half my 30s basically ruined my life because those years are so important in gaining a foothold in life. Oh, that sucks. I'm so sorry to hear that, Half God. Mate, crime it's a real pernicious, horrible thing. That's for sure.
Normal. Not cringe, don't do anything weird, and don't act embarrassing in the eyes of neurotypicals ever. When I think of the term fake disorder cringe, my mind immediately goes to Ticks and Roses. Now that is a whole can of worms that I am not going to be munching down on in this video. The TLDW is that Ticks and Roses claimed to have Tourette syndrome and was believed by many to be faking due to various reasons such as their tics being very convenient or only appearing during certain videos and almost completely disappearing in others. Their own family coming out and saying they were faking, as well as them seemingly creating fake medical documents to prove their diagnosis. Now, in my personal opinion, it was extremely weird that people were researching and investigating this person's personal life, demanding personal medical documents instead of just, reporting their account and blocking them. Though I understand.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's the whole thing with, when we were talking about the whole Chris Chan, who was the other person, the other autistic lad, I can't remember his name. Jeremy Andrew Davis. I think that those are two that we talked about. Obviously very morally degenerate people in a lot of different ways. Definitely not helped by the fact that the internet has a vested interest in their life and will research and stalk them and take videos of them. Probably not the best thing to do to somebody who is struggling or even if they are morally corrupt in a lot of different ways, the ideal situation is to get them support, and I think in this particular situation, having such a vitriolic amount of energy to go through and try and research and find out if someone's faking something is a bit silly. I wouldn't do that with my own free time, that's for sure.
I understand people did this because yes, pretending to have a disorder and spreading false information about it is bad.
Daniel Larson.
However, the Ticks and Roses situation represents a big part of what I hate about fake disorder cringe circles, which is ignoring signs of mental illness and most likely making the problems worse.
Yeah, it's not Jeremy Andrew Davis, that's a different person. I think that's another autism creator. Don't take that with a home running. I meant Daniel Larson. God damn it. Sorry, Jeremy Andrew Davis, if you see this.
In my opinion, Ticks and Roses went to a lot of effort to allegedly pretend they had Tourette's. I say allegedly not because I believe them, but just so they don't take down this video for misinformation or bullying or something. Ticks and Roses has been torn to shreds, looked at under a microscope, and has had every part of their story picked apart, yet they apparently still claim to have Tourette's. Now, while it is bad to lie about a diagnosis and cause stigma around that diagnosis, it is clear to me that while Ticks and Roses probably doesn't have Tourette's syndrome, they are definitely still very mentally ill. And to me, it seems to be a mental illness linked to identity, such as a personality disorder. I personally don't think that posting an obviously mentally ill person in forums and compilations where you bully them and berate them is going to help. In fact,
yes, this person be speaking absolute facts. Oh my god, finally we found the mythical video where someone is, has a degree of have a degree of nuance in how they approach the topic. I love this. This video only has 92 views in 2 months. This person needs a lot more. It's DJ Has Thoughts if you want to go subscribe to them.
In fact, I think it's only going to make them double down, which for the most part, Ticks and Roses has done just that. There's also a more recent TikToker who has claimed to have DID, who I'm not going to name because that's not going to help anyone. It's obvious that they don't match the symptoms of DID, such as going into a dissociative state before switching. In most of their videos, they switch in mere milliseconds, but this person was allegedly at some point a heavy drug user, and judging by their videos, they are most likely still using heavy drugs. This could be a reason why they are faking DID, not because they are knowingly faking, but because these mind-altering substances have warped their perception, possibly causing psychosis, and it has led them to believe they have DID. They also probably have some form of...
This video is a hidden treasure. Indeedy. Why neurotypicals everywhere? There is no reference point for me. I wish these people did more research. Some people can switch on the spot though. That's a common criticism. I have to be honest. Like, I think one of the more difficult aspects of me watching and reacting to videos about fake disorders is that quite often DID is brought up, and DID isn't my area of special understanding, I guess. I don't really know much about DID. I know little bits. I know it's surface level stuff about it, but not the intricacies of how it manifests, if that makes sense. That's one of the difficulties that I have with this stuff. That's why I don't really address DID related things too much. I recently had to stop following a lot of people on YouTube because they started using autistic as a slur for groomers. Oh no, jeez. Hello, cherries. How are you doing? Happy Enough Dudes asks, why do so many autistic people dislike the medical model? Isn't the social model problematic too? I don't think so many autistic people dislike the medical model. I think a lot of us do, mostly because it sees anything that is different as something to fix. Well, not anything, but particular things. And has a lot of pathologizing like language. So it makes a lot of value judgments. I think that's the pathology paradigm. Makes a lot of value judgments on autistic people's nature, if that makes sense. In terms of the medical social model, I think the social model puts a bit more emphasis on the surrounding structures in society for being sort of the locus of disorder that we experience. So it's it helps people take a bit more of a strength-based approach to stuff, not necessarily trying to fix things, but just trying to change their environment in order to help themselves sort of on that individual level. And then like for in the advocacy sense, general sense, it provides a little bit more of a backing to sort of getting the adjustments that we need. Rose says dissociative disorders exist on a spectrum. The whole point of them is to cope with traumas, hide those traumas from the person. It's very covert. So it's possible out of necessity that some systems can switch on the spot to handle where the weaknesses exist. Well, I appreciate that, Rose. As I said, like I'm not too sure, and I probably need to do a bit more research and reading into it. That's for sure.
Of mental illness, as most drug users tend to do.
If you guys have any suggestions for DID related informational sources or accounts or anything like that, please feel free to put them in the comments or the chat. I'll try and check them out.
Now, mental illness and drug abuse aren't excuses for pretending to have and causing misinformation and stigma about a certain disorder. But we really should not be making cringe compilations and subreddits dedicated to mocking mentally ill and drug-addicted persons. The last creator I want to touch on, who actually sparked this entire video idea, is raincloud.heart or Rain MJ Eden. You have probably seen them in a lot of fake Disorder Cringe compilations or memes about girl autism. Rain claims to have autism and previously made TikTok videos talking about autism and showing themselves stimming. Now, Rain did nothing overtly to suggest they were faking autism, like conflicting symptoms, creating fake medical documents, spreading misinformation about autism, etc. Rain merely made a lot of videos showing themselves stimming. The way they stimmed was very energetic and some would say over the top. This led to people starting to call them cringe and embarrassing.
I've seen people who do that.
When people started rightfully calling these labels ableist, Rain began getting accused of faking. As far as my research has taken me, there has never been any proof that Rain faked their autism. Yeah. The main catalyst for Rain being labelled a faker was when a disabled TikToker named Tiny Comedian called them out. In the video that Tiny Comedian was stitching, Rain was stimming.
Hi, I saw your clip and what you're model mimicking is really not something that has to do with stimming or autism.
Now, Tiny Comedian says that the movements in Rain's video were nothing to do with stimming or autism, which is a ridiculous claim because stimming can be any movement that stimulates you. Stimming is not involuntary.
Well, no, it's not any movement that stimulates you because anything that you do in life stimulates you to some degree. You know, stimming is usually, when there's three categories of stimming, three sort of elements of it. One is it's stereotypical, so it's characterized as an autistic thing, usually by the medical researchers. A lot of people have various ideas of whether that should be a point or not. The other aspect is repetition. Is that thing done over and over again in a sort of short span? And number three, does it stimulate you? Like, if you just take the last bit, does it stimulate you? Then you can call pretty much anything stimming. If it's repetitive and stimming, then a lot of things can be stimming. And if it's stereotypical autistic stimming, it's a characterized set of different things that people have listed off. But yeah, it's a voluntary behavior. Yeah, tics are involuntary. Stimming is voluntary. A lot of people do it unconsciously, I guess. A lot of people report that their stimming is involuntary. I wouldn't necessarily say it's involuntary. It might just be like a habit. I guess, could you call that involuntary? I'm not sure. I'd be more aligned with the word unconsciously. Heidi Bauman says, "Hi Thomas, I love all your videos, but particularly enjoy your commentaries like this stream. I was wondering if you're familiar with Emma Green's channel. The most recent video was about speed supremacy." Well, hello Heidi. I'm glad that you enjoy my stuff. I have seen Emma Green's channel. I think I watched the one on ND Core, the neurodiversity not neurodiversity paradigm. You can tell what I've been researching and writing about recently. About the neurodivergent gaze. I watched their video on that. Thought it was really good. They do some really awesome commentary, essay-based videos for sure. Very long. I think if we were going to react to something like that, it would probably have to be. We'd have to get a good chunk of time to do that for sure.
Contrary to popular belief, it is a series of conscious, repetitive movements that anyone, autistic or neurotypical, does to soothe themselves. This can be rocking back and forth, cracking your knuckles, waving your hands. Just because someone is performing a series of movements that you do involuntarily doesn't mean they're mocking you. That just happens to be something they do to stim. It has nothing to do with you, and it is baffling to me that you would find someone stimming to be offensive. It is a self-soothing ritual, like rocking on a chair. Now, I actually found this Tiny Comedian clip through a video by the YouTuber.
People just want an enemy. They just want someone to battle against. You know, there's nothing going on. Everything's calm and simple. Hey, I'm gonna pick at this person. I don't know. It's very strange. Subconscious, yeah, subconscious. Maybe not unconscious. Glad you're familiar. You're right about the length though. Yeah. Thank you for the links, peeps. Is a habit not involuntary as you have to remain conscious of it to not do it? I don't know.
Blaze, who did a horribly researched video on autism to invalidate Rain.
They do a lot of them.
And she's clearly doing this to gain extra attention.
This particular claim bothers me because you don't know that. What symptoms do you expect? What action is too much to be considered drastically over-exaggerating their symptoms? Do you know Rain? Do you know their regular symptoms? Are you trained in the area of autism? Probably not, because the research in this...
Yeah, and then the kicker of a statement. This person is faking and they're also claiming to be self-identified. I don't think they are. I'm going to identify them as not autistic, because that makes more sense than the literal person identifying themselves, as opposed to someone who's come across a few TikToks of them. That's logic.
This video was dog water. A lot of autistic people will attest to being referred to as overdramatic and exaggerating when they have meltdowns or they stim. This argument is complete dog water.
The only thing I'm going to agree with this person. Yes, it is a hellscape. But that also means, yes, she doesn't have any of her content on any of her pages anymore. Maybe, perhaps shockingly, content like this gets a little bit of backlash.
He acknowledges here that Rain is calling TikTok a hellscape, and this is most likely because of the abuse they received. He agrees that TikTok is a hellscape. He then shows a video of them stimming and basically says, well, what do you expect when you post stuff like this?
Yes, it's your fault. and now my video is going to create more little monkeys to come hassle other people doing similar stuff. Projecting? The people who claim they are doing it for attention are projecting, yeah.
This is what I was talking about with the ableism in these communities.
They're doing it for
Rain
attention.
should expect bullying because they're being visibly autistic. And you can't even say, no, it's because they're pretending to be autistic, because you have no proof they're faking. You even say at the start of the video that you're not claiming they're faking.
I'm not saying her having autism or DID and is necessarily faking it. No.
So basically, behaving like an autistic person is worthy of mockery and they should expect to be chased off the internet for it.
Identity and a choice, a personal...
While further on talking about stimming, which is when you feel a overload and your body moves uncontrollably.
You clearly...
Stimming, when you feel one of those overloads and your body moves uncontrollably. Oh, I love that. Oh, that's delicious. I love that so much.
I did no research for this video, so let me do it for you.
I just want to make it clear. We all stim. We all of our leisure activities are stim behaviors. They're self-stimulatory behaviors.
Yeah, well, this is where the problem gets in, because like if everything that you experience in life is from your senses, then everything is sensory stimulation, and so everything is stimming. You know, that's the problem I have with characterizing exactly what can we call stimming. I'd say something that you do, repetitive self-stimulation to sort of ease your anxiety, or it can be to enhance concentration in those with ADHD, or just people in general. Do you know what I mean? Like, I like most people do stim, and they do those repetitive motions, like rub their hands together, or like tap their leg, or twizzle a pen. You know, that's a repetitive thing that you do for self-stimulation. People do that. Then again, like you bring in the category of stereotypical autistic stims, then it makes it a little bit more clear what you're talking about. Anyway, that's me rambling about one of the logical conundrums that I have in my brain.
Basically, it's the function of automatic reinforcement, which means that we do things for pleasure.
Everyone stims, not just autistic people. It is an act of self-soothing. It is not involuntary and uncontrollable. How are you going to attack Rain for spreading misinformation when you yourself can't even do an iota of research?
I thought everyone stims, just ADHD and autistics doing more. I mean, this is just a theory. An untested theory. I think, yes, indeed, everyone does stim. Autistic people, ADHDers, do tend to have a different sensory profile and differences socially as well. So it may be that we develop and use stims which are a little bit louder, I guess, or stims that we use in different ways to how most people would. That's my thoughts on why. You know, it's kind of like a louder version of everyday sort of stims that people do. Thomas, you look calmer and happier today. I feel calmer and happier. I feel better, for sure. Thank you for that.
Anyway, the only way you will avoid being put in a fake Disorder Cringe compilation as a neurodivergent person on the internet is, if you never post a video of yourself, tone down your neurodivergent behavior to a level that doesn't cringe out neurotypicals, openly criticize other people who identify as neurodivergent online and accuse them of faking, or mask. I think the reason that neurotypicals tend
Just mask. No, it doesn't matter what you do. You can mask it. You can just not display any of that. And people will still criticize whether you are autistic or not. But it won't be because they think you're overinflating or putting on. It's because they don't see anything that's necessarily stereotypical autistic. So they're like, do you even have autism? You just can't win. There is no secret code to winning in the online spaces. People just be thinking what they want to think, you know? I stem to music, metal music, that is. Good on you, Ross. Love it. Hello, Lexi. Hello. Rose says, when I get excited or happy, I'll flap my hands because it can be an intense emotional experience. Flapping allows me to direct the energy out. I rarely do that in public, though. No, for sure. Yeah. Sometimes I will bounce if I'm very, very excited and happy, but it doesn't really happen that often, sadly. It's a rare Thomas stim if you can find me bouncing somewhere. Usually I'll sort of break out into a bit of dancing, you know. But yeah, I would probably classify those as little stims, like the ones that I do in public. They aren't too acknowledgeable, like it doesn't stick out to people. They're more discreet, those little stims. Those would be the stims that most people do, like tapping your leg or like rubbing or playing with something. And then you have big stims, which are less discreet, more stereotypical, like the hand flapping and stuff, which I wish I could just feel comfortable doing that in public, but I just don't. I think even if people did wholly accept autistic people stimming and there was no risk presented for us doing that, I still think that a lot of autistic people wouldn't do those in public, because generally what humans do is if you see something which you don't normally see, it's a novel thing. Your eyes, even myself, your eyes are just drawn to things that you don't see often, because that's like how attention works. You know, you gravitate to the novel thing because it's different. And so people will still look at you, even if they're not making judgments. And so I don't think that even if we did do a lot of autism awareness and acceptance, that would change for a lot of people. I think some people possibly, but no, for sure. Thanks for the relay, Thomas. Stims, not atoms. I also bounce and agitate my arms and hands when very happy. Interesting. I only stim in front of my kids, otherwise it's too odd. Oh, I love that. Stimming with your kids is like A+ tier bonding activity. Do the so-called fake autistic people affect real autistic people? I think nobody on the spectrum wants to become the new depression. Again, like, I don't think that there's much that you can do when it comes to the internet. If you start to, like, if a certain community that was once quite isolated from the rest of the world, even like on the internet, and that becomes more mainstream and more people who don't know much about autism or neurodiversity start learning about it, people are very emotionally primed to have, I guess, split judgments, thin sliced judgments on what's going on. And so, you know, there'll be some people who make videos about how, you know, autism has been on the increase since TikTok or something of that nature, and people will just latch onto it. And so I don't think there's really a way that you can navigate the online spaces when sort of advocating for a certain group without having people like that too. You know, it's it kind of sucks, I guess, to a certain degree with the whole depression thing, because you know, there's a lot of people out there who think that it doesn't exist now, and that sucks. You know, me as someone who has had clinical depression for probably 14 plus years, to be like told that it doesn't exist, that I'm making it up, or that I'm just weak or something of that nature, it's awful. You know, they don't. I can't say that there's a way of going about it that would be the best way to go about it without causing people to have that reaction. I had no idea how much I was stimming till I started to suspect I was autistic. They were all subconscious, but I notice now when I do it, unfortunately, my biggest stim is smoking. Repetitive thing that you do over and over for sensory stimulation. I'd probably put that in the harmful stims category. I do actually have a video coming out about the different types of stims. So that should be quite an interesting one to follow up on from this. Do you have any experience with people getting misinformation from platforms like TikTok about a certain disorder and relating to it even though they don't have it, and spreading more misinformation? Perhaps, but those things tend to be quite isolated, like small things. I think the more common thing that occurs is misinformation that people from outside of the autistic community have, general sort of things that people have been told, like everyone has a little bit of autism, those types of things. I think that's more of a common occurrence. The thing is, like, I would probably say that even like the autism spaces, even though they've been around for a while online, I think it's still quite it's still growing. I think that there is a potential for people to, I guess, value too much an opinion piece about like whether you have autism or not. I can imagine there are some people, but I think a lot of the sort of aspects of misinformation or subjective things that people are talking about to do with autism in an objective sense, I think generally those kind of fade out due to more people talking about their experience. Possibly, I think it's kind of like it's kind of like a melting pot of lived experience, So there's always going to be some differences between people, and a lot of subjectivity included in that, just by its nature. Definitely harmful. How do I stop though? No idea. You tell me. What are the odds of having an uncommon weird stim and it not having a neurodivergent cause? I have no idea. No idea. What exactly is a vocal stem? Any noise that you make repeatedly to self-soothe yourself, like goose frabba. Maybe not goose frabba. I don't want to do it because I don't have them, I don't think.
Tend to think everyone who is cringe and neurodivergent is faking is because they're used to most of the neurodivergent people around them masking. And I'm not going to put it past neurotips to make fun of people they know are neurodivergent. Hell, there's a new fuck-ass trend where you post a clip of a physically disabled person living their life and caption it, "Oh my god, I'm going to hell for laughing." Because if you admit it's bad you're bullying disabled people, it's okay to bully them because you're being honest. Also, I'm just going to add that men and boys are not nearly as commonly featured in these fake Disorder Cringe compilations. It makes me think of the post that Rain is commonly featured in. The ones that say girl autism versus boy autism. Misogyny plays a big part in the recent uptick in mocking neurodivergent people, mainly because women are criticized for everything they do. Men are usually believed when they say they have a condition, and women typically aren't. And most women don't get diagnosed with neurodivergencies even if they have them, because psychology is still largely male-focused. So yeah, that's my rant about why fake disorder cringe is probably just a...
That's a real interesting point that they brought up. I don't think I see a lot of sort of fake disorder cringe stuff related to dudes. I was trying to think of it, trying to think if I can remember if we've watched one with that. I think usually, like, people in the online spaces, if they see like an autistic man sort of doing what they see as cringe, they usually take it, like, assume that person's doing it because it's funny, maybe. So it's, I have no idea. I'm trying to think of why. Maybe it might require a little bit more delving into neurotips, like PG tips. Yeah. I got lucky and no one reacted negatively. Oh, you're saying that you shared something? I'm not following. I see that too. My doctor laughed at me when I first went to him for help. Rex Stone says, I think NTs also go after them a lot because they don't fit the view of an autistic person. Yeah, that's a good point. That is a very good point. Was Fred Flintstone autistic? Why are you asking that?
Ableism. Very thinly veiled. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and have a good day.
Damn. Well, thank you very much to DJ Has Thoughts. Please head over, give their video a like, put them a comment in the comment section, biddy, and give them a subscribe. They've got 8 subscribers. I thought it was a pretty good video. Probably deserves a little bit more attention. Very well constructed. Don't agree with perhaps everything that they were saying, but a lot of it for sure. And yeah, hope you've enjoyed this. Make sure to like and subscribe to my own channel if you want to for more videos like this, and perhaps head over to my main channel where I produce original content and where my live streams usually happen. If you become a member on there for £1, you'll have access to all of these live streams uncut, which go back for at least like a year or so. So it's a good deal if you like my stuff. Anyway, see you later. When I was younger, I had these top trumps, top trumps. I had these top trumps of Lord of the Rings, And there was a picture of Sauron's eye. Sauron? One of his eyes. And I used to think that what he was as an entity was the pupil. Just the pupil bit. I didn't realize that it was an actual eye. I just thought it was this rocky black strand of material. I didn't realize that it was his actual eye like that. Am I stupid?